This week we continue speaking with Stacey Shepard. In today's conclusion, we discuss more of Stacey's experience using herbs and Chinese medical theory and boosting results with the GAPS protocol. We also find out how obsessing about diet after you've healed may actually harm you more than help you, and Stacey's guilty pleasure. Coming up next on the Nutrition Heretic podcast.
Meet Gina. Gina wanted to lose weight, so she spent 2 years fasting, detoxing, and dabbling with vegan diets while practicing a shit ton of yoga to lose 25 pounds. But it took so long that nobody noticed. Then, Gina started Frenching her food by eating fatty cheeses, butter, sausages, and red meat, and lost 15 more pounds in only 2 months. Everybody noticed this time. Frenching your food unlocks the riddle of weight loss that skinny French chicks use to slim down, look young, and live longer despite doing everything wrong. Be like Gina. Start Frenching your food today by visiting nutritionheretic.com/Frenching.
Fat is bad for you.
I just pop a pill and I'm fine.
Meat is murder.
It's time for bad food punishment. It's time for real nourishment. It's time for the Nutrition Heretic.
The following program is provided as information only and may not be construed as medical or health advice. It is not intended to diagnose, treat, or cure any disease. No action or inaction should be taken solely on the basis of the information provided here. Please consult with a licensed healthcare professional or doctor on any matter relating to your health and well-being.
And this is, I guess, what I was going towards before, which is it's that DIY mentality. So we've got the very type A personality that wants to obsess about something, but they've made their choice as to what they're going to obsess about. So, like, for example, the gluten intolerance. We had a guest on a few weeks ago who's a clinical hypnotherapist, and he said that what he found is that a lot of people who claim to be gluten intolerant and really do manifest symptoms of gluten intolerance, when he works with them, and basically he finds that they have a type A personality. And once they learn to relax around gluten, suddenly they can eat it and no side effects. Mm-hmm. Because the realization that this thing even exists became their obsession and the thing that they could fixate on, so that it just satisfied those centers of the brain that wanted something to obsess about.
Wow, that is so fascinating. That's why I love Oriental medicine and acupuncture and herbs, and combining it with the GAPS diet, because it's multi-leveled, multi-layered. Our meridians, our energy, our spirit, everything, our minds are so powerful, and simply just healing your gut, it won't always solve the problem. It's sometimes, oftentimes, much deeper, and affects many different levels of the individual.
Right. And that's one of the reasons why I was so glad to get you on the show, is because I wanted to talk to you about the fact that, Oriental medicine comes, I studied Chinese dietetics in New York years ago, and actually before I got my CN, I studied Chinese dietetics, and the one thing that was the biggest takeaway for me was that no food is bad. Mm-hmm. In the West, we are so willing, and particularly in America, it's starting to happen in Europe, but not as bad as it is here. We will believe that any real food is bad, but hand us an alternative in a box, and we're all over that shit. You know what I'm saying? You know what I'm saying? Like, you just give me, you put it in a box, and now it's got a label and ingredients. oh, I need that, you know.
You said it's natural? What?
Right,
Oh, it's gotta be good.
Exactly. Look, it's gluten-free, you know. So I'm like totally going after gluten intolerant people now. Or at least it's actually not the gluten intolerant people. It's the people who say they're gluten intolerant, but they're not really. So, which I think is everybody's kind of issue, right? But what I like about GAPS is that it has a very similar message, and I've attended several of Natasha's workshops. Haven't gotten the certification because honestly, I don't want to go back to the mainland ever. So, you know, I've gone to several of her workshops, and every time I go, it's just she's saying something else that I've been telling people for 20 years. You know, she's saying some other manifestation, just realization of something that's going on. And I'm like, yes, and I keep saying this to people, and nobody's listening to me because I don't have the MD after my name. And so, but you know, the one thing that I really love is she talks about the miracles of healing, and you know that, for example, gluten intolerance is not necessarily a life sentence. You know, the fact that when you go on this diet, you heal the gut. First of all, who the hell is going to want to eat Skittles all day after they've done this? And you know, you've done all the work. You're not thinking, oh, now I can go to the KFC
I know, right?
and get my 12 beat chicken, you know, with no feet or whatever they're always coming out with new atrocities at, you know, KFC. But anyway, but the idea is just that you're not going to want to do that, but you know, you or your kid wants to go to a birthday party. Yeah, they can have a slice of cake. They probably won't want to finish it. You know, it might be more out of curiosity than anything, but they can have it, and they're not going to completely revert.
Exactly. We just came off of the Labor Day weekend. My husband and I and my son, we all had an adventure day, and we went by Texas and Honokaa. So of course we had to make the obligatory stop and get that Portuguese donut. The malasadas are so amazing, you know, but we don't do that regularly. And so we said, sure, we can treat ourselves and have this. And we couldn't even finish one of them.
I know. When we first moved here, we went to Texas maybe about 6 months after we had been here, because everybody's like, oh, the malasadas, you gotta get them. So we go there and we buy like 2 of them, and me and my 2 daughters took, I think, about 4 days to finish them. Because we just it was like after dinner, you know, just like a tiny little wedge was plenty.
I know, they're huge.
And people don't realize.
When you're not used to eating that day after day, then you enjoy just little pieces and you feel satisfied. And I think that most people are just walking around thinking that they feel good, but they don't realize how bad they feel. They think that their bad is just normal, and that that's just how everyone else feels. And then once they start to get on a diet and cleanse and heal, then they really know what feeling good feels like. And then you just can't go back. There's no way. You're going to turn down cake and donuts and cookies and feel good about it because you don't even want it anymore. You don't have these little yeast and bacteria inside dictating what your cravings and desires are, and you can really make decisions that are pure and whole and true to yourself, and you really find that you don't need that stuff.
Right. Well, you think more clear-headed for sure. And,
Exactly.
You know, part of that is because the GAPS diet does have a heavier protein and fat content than the average diet, whether it's a weight loss diet or what have you. And the amount of satiety that brings to the neurons, you know, and the amount of, endorphins that you're releasing when you're eating the right foods, that, like the other stuff, you see it and you kind of remember having a weakness for it, but it doesn't own you anymore. So I think it goes beyond just the bacteria crying out for it, because I totally get that, because every time somebody tells me, well, I don't even drink alcohol, and then I see them drinking a gallon of juice, I'm like, yeah, take that to, yeah, right. Yeah, sure. What do you think that juice is doing in your gut right now? It's turning to alcohol. But yeah, you're right. Absolutely. Most people walk around in a haze and they self-medicate all day. They're chewing their gum. They're drinking 12 pots of coffee. They don't eat sugar, but they just buy a shit ton of energy drinks all day. Mm-hmm. And so they're going through the motions of a lot of this. But they really have no clue what they're putting in their bodies. They do not recognize at all what they're putting into themselves, and that they're doing it constantly. They think that it's just like a once in a while thing. And it's like, and that's, to them, that means, once every 4 hours. That's once in a while. Right? Yeah, I thought, all the time meant like every hour, not every 4 hours. Come on. But yeah, I think a lot of people are medicating themselves. And like you say, they're just, they have no clue how crappy they feel until they lift that veil.
Exactly.
Of crud. So you're able to actually eat not only gluten, but nasty gluten. like nasty sugar-filled donut gluten.
Non-organic.
Right, exactly. And again, this is something that so much comes out of the Chinese school, which is that things are reversible. Right. Okay, I had that one infraction or whatever. We get back to normal after it.
Exactly. It's all about balance. You cannot be heavy in either direction. If you're, eating out everything out of a box, that's completely imbalanced on one end. But if you're just eating everything fresh and organic and doing all the right things and being healthy all the time, then that becomes imbalanced as well. You need to be closer to that end, but have a little bit of the other too, and just to maintain harmony and balance. That's what Chinese medicine is really all about at its core, is balance.
Right. Because see, to me, that's where, like what you say about fresh and organic, those are my staples, right? However, and I've discussed this before on the show, I don't stress if I went in your direction on Sunday. Okay. I went down and I went to the
brew pub?
No, the burger place, Ultimate Burger, Ultimate. And they got good burgers, Yeah, and I was like, I want a burger. So I got a fish burger. My girls each got something, and that's probably the only time we eat out, for the week. And sometimes it is like a once a week thing where we go out and we just, suck it up for one meal. That's okay, because I think there is I learned this from my doctor, ages ago, that, there is a certain time where the anxiety over trying to do the right thing all the time outweighs the benefits of doing the right thing all the time.
Exactly. And in Chinese medicine, we have 5 elements. They're all attached to different organs, or manifested in different organs. And for 4 of them, the spleen, lung, liver, and kidneys, they all have foods that they need, that feed them, that energetically give them life and chi. But for the heart, it doesn't have a specific food. The heart energy needs to have those moments where you're just indulging with something that makes your heart happy and your heart smile. And so that's why I like having like you did. You had an adventure. We went and had an adventure. Well, part that we will remember and carry with us is that donut. We had a fun adventure day, and we got to go share it with the donut. And
that sounds like a children's book.
Well, I have a 2-year-old, so.
Oh, there you go.
But yeah, just having those times, like not being so rigid. It's important in your healing journey, but once you come along far enough to where you've healed, you haven't just eliminated grains and things, you're actually doing protocols to restore your gut lining and regenerate your health, then yeah, give yourself those times to indulge and make your heart happy too.
Right, right, absolutely. What are the maybe just one or two little tips you could give to someone who's going through whatever protocol, gaps, or if they've discovered something else that they feel is healing them? We're not talking about just the avoidance people, but the healing. What are some of the tips that when they're going on that 2-year journey? Because we've established, I believe, that it takes up to 2 years for most people to heal using the GAPS protocol. What can you say to them that makes them not want to even cheat once? Or, will one cheat set them back and they have to start at 0, or can they pick up again? Just, I made a mistake, or.
Yeah, absolutely. They can pick up. And what I've found with working with patients is that they go on the diet, they're feeling amazing, and then they're feeling so good that they're like, oh, I can have this. I'm going to just go ahead and have this. And they go out to dinner with their friends and they have French fries or a burger or what have you. And then they because they were feeling so good, now they actually really physically feel and notice exactly what that food is doing to them.
Right.
And so it actually, I encourage people to cheat if they want to. If they feel like they really are strongly desire something, then go for it and see how it feels to you. And then every time they're going to say, yep, I didn't feel good. I don't want to do that anymore. And then they have more strength going forward.
Right. Yeah. Sometimes it takes that to really give you the resolve to just see it through. And it's like, no, I'm on the right path. I get it
exactly.
now, and so then you can kind of put all those curiosities to rest because you've done it. You know what it feels like. Not good. Although I have to say, if you're going to cheat, go to Europe and cheat. Because the food is way better, and save up for a little European vacation, go over there and cheat is way better, and chances are you won't feel as crappy either. Like people don't feel crappy on just go to a decent restaurant, a halfway decent restaurant in Europe, and you feel amazing still. So that's definitely.
I agree 100%.
Yeah, I just told one of my followers she does the keto diet, and I was like, look, I know you don't eat grains, I know you do all this stuff, but you're gonna go to Italy, you're gonna get me, or not get me, but you're gonna eat this for me. And I tasked her with eating a Genovese focaccia, which is lined with this lovely fresh cheese that has to be eaten within about 3 days of producing it. And it's almost like a calzone, but it's like the best freaking thing. I had it once when I was 16 and I still remember it. Okay. 30 years later, I still have not tracked down a good one. I haven't been back to that part of Italy where they make it. Cause yes, a place that still cooks regionally is usually a good place to eat. That's actually a pretty good way to figure out where are some of the better places to eat, is like they don't have Starbucks lining the streets and just kind of that mass produced thing. Go to the places that still have their regional specialties where you can only get them at Christmas time or whatever time of year, because that's what's growing, so those are the places where it's worth cheating.
Yeah, if you ever see me in Europe, I'm definitely going to be cheating.
Okay, well, I'll give you a list of things to eat because I was in Europe for many times. And just tell me what country, I'll give you like 2 or 3 things that you should definitely eat while you're there.
Okay, deal.
So when you blend Oriental medicine with GAPS, does it improve the outcomes?
Oh, absolutely. It absolutely does. I'm part of a group of GAPS practitioners on Facebook. And on a forum, we all communicate with each other if we're, having problems with different cases. And I see a lot of people who are not progressing and they're having setbacks and they're just reaching out for help. And I am not coming across that. I seem to not be experiencing that as much as some of them. And I will say that the homeopathics that are on this board have been experiencing the same as me. They're using homeopathy in addition to the diet, and they're really getting amazing results, and things are moving quicker. The die-off phase, the detox stage, all of that is a lot smoother. And yeah, we're just able to help ameliorate some of the troublesome symptoms that go along with the detoxing process. Because yeah, it's definitely part of everyone's journey, at least in my experience, that you're going to get worse before you get better. That's just part of it. It's part of the healing, cleansing process. But we definitely want to help make that manageable for you and not have you lying in bed, not able to get up and go to work. We want you to be able to still be able to function and live your life. And so I find that doing these alternative therapies and more energy-based medicines, acupuncture, and then herbs, homeopathy, definitely help to get people through that time a lot quicker.
Right.
And then in addition, they already were coming into it ill, so they already had some underlying deficiencies and problems that needed to be addressed, or, in order for them to really have long-term health freedom. So, we can address those and help alleviate some of your die-off symptoms.
Right. And, that's, I always say to people, it's a little bit like, it's a little bit like being a heroin addict, and, and they got to strap you down to the bed and you just spend, 12 days vomiting because your body's, it's not that drastic, hopefully, but your body is purging a bunch of crap that it doesn't need. And people really, because especially the people who don't drink, don't smoke, think that there's nothing that's harmful or negative or unwanted in their body already. They have no clue what's lurking in there. But I gotta say, if you've got joint problems, your teeth are falling out, you're gaining weight in weird places, not being able to shed, you've got all kinds
Rashes.
of exactly. I mean, there's so many things that they're trying to get out. Things are trying to get out of your body, and it's a matter of helping it get out with these types of protocols. And clearly what you're doing with the acupuncture is helping people to move that through. Now, one of the things you mentioned on your website is that you had spent time in Kenya this is, I believe, before GAPS, but as a newly licensed acupuncturist. Tell us a little bit about the revelations you had about how rapidly and how different people responded to the therapy.
Yeah, so I was in Africa for 1 month in Kenya, and mostly working in remote villages and working on local people with no TVs, no cell phones, just really going to their homes, immersing ourselves in the local culture, not really spending any time in the touristy areas. And what we found was really mind-blowing. We would set up and just in the street some of the days,
right,
and have people come get treatments, and with just one session, just having incredible healing results. And it was really, really powerful and mind-blowing for me, because that's not always, or oftentimes not, my experience working here with people. It takes multiple sessions. Sometimes with one treatment, they don't even notice any changes. It's just something that takes a lot longer. And so, yeah, it opened my eyes and made me think, okay, what's up? What is going on? And my hypothesis is that these people were living off of the land. They were eating fish that they caught and things that they grew, and they were not constantly surrounded by electromagnetic frequencies, and their bodies were just pure, and the energy, the chi that resides within us was able to flow freely and move and be directed the way that we want it to with acupuncture versus people here that are constantly on our cell phones and our computers and eating poor diets. Our energies just become blocked and heavy and stuck, and we get big areas where it's just not even going to pass. We can't pass the energy through because there's so many accumulations. And so it's just, I found that the people there responded so quickly, and we're just really healthier on an energetic level. And so the acupuncture was able to affect them really dramatically.
Right. So what are some of actually, before I say this, the other thing is they don't have soccer moms there. Okay. So I'm going out on a limb here that they don't have the kind of hectic schedules that a lot of us are trying to keep up with. And that definitely is going to have an effect. So, that's, if anything, that's also part of, this concept of just relaxing and taking on less, which I am the poster child for taking on too much. We definitely need to consider many factors, just like you said. One thing that I remember years ago, Sally Fallon, who was also on the show before, she had said that she had talked to a lot of chiropractors. And like these old time guys who were practicing, in the 60s and earlier. And they were saying that in more recent years, moving from about the 80s, that they were finding that stuff that they could have fixed in one session, they were stringing along for years. Yes. Because between being in our cars all the time and eating crappy food that doesn't feed the connections, the cartilage and tendons and bone, it's kind of a never-ending battle to keep these people aligned.
I was just actually speaking with a chiropractor here that said the exact same thing. He's been practicing for years and same experience. He's not getting the same results anymore.
Yeah.
And that's just in a few decades. That is fast. That is alarming.
Absolutely. So, and one thing to keep in mind too is that a lot of people, they think, for example, Africa, they should just take all of our GMO products. Their people are starving and whatever. And they don't seem to understand that places that are impoverished, first of all, they want to hold on to their food traditions. And then they also want to hold on to their indigenous crops. But a lot of the stuff that we're introducing is going to impact them much worse. This seems to be, even Weston Price's work seems to point to Native peoples having a much more rapidly negative reaction to the stuff that we're throwing into the food supply now. Does that you see what I'm trying to say? Which is that I guess some of us who've grew up in this country and maybe come along with this stuff over decades, the impact isn't as obvious. But then you take the same garbage and you bring it to the Andes or wherever. And in one generation, you're seeing just like a complete decline, like almost like decimating the population.
Yeah, that makes total sense. Their bodies we've slowly become kind of accustomed to these foods over time. Yeah. And now, but places that have no exposure, suddenly you're coming in and you're completely disrupting all of their cellular pathways. They can't function. They can't do anything. Their bodies just start to shut down.
Right.
They're like, what is this? What is this trash?
Yeah, absolutely.
Not food.
Absolutely. And anybody who's moved here from, like my parents moved here from Jamaica, we have Indian friends, Chinese friends, people who've moved here from other parts of the world where the food was more natural. It was probably more like our food supply was 100 years ago here. they come here and they're like, yeah, the obesity started as soon as I got here, and the joint problems. I mean, I've met so many people who had, the 95-year-old grandmother who lived in the hills of Italy, didn't have a TV, washed her clothes by hand, all of that kind of stuff. And they move here, and within a year, actually, it's always after they see the doctor. They go to a doctor because like the grandkids are like, Grandma, no, you gotta go to the doctor because you're 95 years old. She goes to the doctor and suddenly she's hospitalized. They give her a medicine and now she's hospitalized. This happens continuously. Like this old Russian lady who's, never seen a doctor in her life comes to the U.S. and is now on 12 drugs and incapacitated.
That's heartbreaking. I know people have way too much trust in their doctors. I mean, they don't question them. They don't ask questions, and they don't wonder, why are they giving me this? And is this the right thing? And do their own due diligence and seek out second opinions. And then they just wind up on medication and then another medication for the side effects of that medication. And they just spiral.
Exactly. It is heartbreaking. I think I told this on the show before, which is, I had a neighbor who was several hundred pounds. She was about 400 pounds. And that was about 15 years after weight reduction surgery. She was, the head of nursing at a, assisted living facility. She was always getting upset because this 90-something-year-old Russian woman's son kept coming in with all of these mysterious jars of things in a cooler and locking the door and not letting the doctors in. And so she was really upset, that nobody was allowed to go in there, that he would sneak in there with this thing. But the woman was getting better than when he wasn't doing that. And I was like, yeah, is one of those jars like red? And because it was beet kvass he was giving her. And so, but he was sneaking in these mason jars and feeding her this stuff, and she was getting better, like even by their standards, not just walking, getting up and walking around, but her actual blood results were coming back better. And they were so PO'd that he was doing something behind closed doors. And it's like, give me a break. Like, people aren't even allowed to have real food in the so-called rehab center or, assisted living.
Wow.
So yeah, there's just so much that we can learn, from these other generations about preserving our gut health and sticking to our native traditions, which unfortunately is what these corporations are aiming to do. They're aiming to rip us from our culture and our traditions.
I know. It's devastating.
It is. But hopefully we can turn this around before it's too late.
Yeah, I think we can. And I'm so excited about all you're doing with Korean natural farming and bringing that to the world. I think this regenerative agriculture is really huge and will do so much for all of the population and for the world. It's all related. As we heal the environment, we heal our bodies. Absolutely.
And I think it was Natasha who has famously said that once upon a time, actually I know it was Natasha who said this, before the modern era, that every bite of food that humans took in had probiotics in it.
Yeah.
And now, organic, it's nice, but it doesn't address the soil health on the same level in many cases. No. I think when a lot of people think of organic, they think it's just, this is just what people used to do. And it's like, well, not necessarily. I mean, there's definitely components that I'm sure we did that were picked up from previous generations, but it doesn't go into replenishing our topsoil. And again, the microbiome, the probiotics that naturally live in the soil, it really takes a, sort of like when people try to take an herb in a medicated fashion. In other words, they're not using the herb to support systems. They're using herbs to thwart symptoms.
Yeah, it's kind of, to me, it's like going on the gluten-free, casein-free diet. You're eliminating the poisons in the soil, but what are you doing to heal it?
Right, exactly. So I just love, and thank you for the compliment, by the way, but I do love this system because it shows us how to make use of those microorganisms in the soil to rebuild and get us back to creating topsoil, not just stripping it. And I mean, there's just so much. And if we can, continue to do that in our food supply, the earth wants to heal itself. We know that. We know that the earth wants to heal itself. It has the capacity. We just have to help it along and help create these zones that will then outnumber the dead zones that we've created, which is a big task. But, the more of us doing it, the more likely we can achieve something in certain corners of the world, if nothing else.
Exactly. And it's the same thing with our bodies. And the more people we have making the right choices for your body are going to be the right choices for the environment. And the more people we have making the right choices, the faster our bodies and the world will heal. And we'll see just fast gains.
Yeah, for sure. Well, I did put out on social media, I asked people for questions. I didn't get a question as much as I got, do this, and it takes care of everything. Victoria Baklova said, I just realized her name is Baklava. I mean, she spells it different, but yeah. Anyway, she says, you can make sure, this is because the question was, about autism, can it be reversed? Find out on this episode, right? So she says, you can make sure you eat manganese and high sulfate foods. People think that these are minerals, but they are actually metal and are transmission lines that pass on information and tell your body what to do. They are minerals that can transmit the same way metal does. That's a better explanation. What do you think of the high sulfate manganese foods? Is this something that you've run across as part of therapy, or any of the foods that are recommended on the GAPS diet particularly slant towards being high sulfate or manganese?
So no, I'm not familiar with the high sulfate, high manganese in particular. Definitely important to get enough minerals in the diet. And there's Drake with the Korean natural farming. Yes. He said something one time that I found so fascinating, that his theory is that minerals are actually just dormant microbes that are just waiting to come to life and need salt water or whatever to become activated. And I'm so fascinated by that. And I'm trying to, study more and learn more about that. But I definitely believe that, minerals are a very important part of the healing process.
Yeah. I think that the longer I live and the more I work with this and study it and read and whatever, the more I am becoming of the mind that minerals are more the basis of life than vitamins. I'm not saying that vitamins aren't important. I'm just saying that the minerals, because technically, at least the way I learned it in school, was that minerals do not die. They shift. They're shapeshifters, if anything, they're constantly combining and latching on and making these synapses happen. As far as the high manganese, I think there is a healthy level of manganese, but it is a trace mineral. So we don't, basically where I'm going with this is that high manganese has been connected to things like mad cow disease. And, for what it's worth, in a way, you might consider autism a form of scrapie or mad cow. Because it's very, these kids definitely tend to have a heavy metal overload. Mm-hmm. And they also, and it is entirely possible that they're getting a lot of these, high manganese doses. That's been shown in cases of mad cow and scrapie and all the other versions. So it would kind of make sense that we're looking at all of these things converge at one time, where numerous species are manifesting this type of brain spinal cord disorder. So take that for what it's worth.
That's fascinating.
But I actually wonder in the opposite, if we're getting too much manganese relative to other nutrients. I don't know what Victoria Baklava knows. I don't know how she knows this and what makes her the authority. She never divulged anything. She just kind of blurted it out, and there it is. So, in any case, before I let you go, I just wanted to let people know that you offer classes in GAPS. You see people in person, but also by Skype.
Yes.
Just walk us very briefly through a little bit of what they could expect if they were to, work with you. What do you do that the book can't?
Okay. So, I prescribe herbs and, like I said, to help you get through the die-off process to help regenerate, any deficiencies. So, whereas the book is very general, I don't find that it's perfect for that everyone should do it all the same.
Right.
So, say you come to me with diarrhea and rheumatoid arthritis. Well, I think that you should do the diet completely differently from someone that's constipated and has osteoarthritis. You guys aren't going to have the same results achieving or going through the diet the same way. And in fact, if you're constipated and you go on Entro, you can actually have detrimental effects because you're not moving your bowels properly. And basically, I'm a guide to help you know which direction you should be going with the diet. And then most importantly, what I've found that my main role is that I am your coach and your motivator. Because getting through the diet, especially in the beginning, when you're going through die-off and you're cleansing and you're detoxing, you're going to feel bad. That's just the way that it goes. But I'm here to constantly support you and guide you, and most of all, encourage you to stick with it and to give you comfort when you're scared and you're thinking, is this right? Am I doing this wrong? And should this be happening? To be able to just encourage you to stick with it and help you know that you are doing the right things. And again, to get you through the tough times.
Okay, great. Well, thank you so much. And you can reach our guest heretic, Stacey Shepard, at her website, acupuncturekona.com. And Kona is spelled Kona, just like it sounds. And you offer a free consultation, is that correct?
Yep, I will do an email consultation.
Awesome.
Yeah, basically to decide if we would be a good fit for each other.
Right. And you also have some workshops that are that you do. Do you have anything coming up?
I don't have anything coming up right now. I'm actually moving towards doing webinars and more virtual workshops.
Okay, great. I thought you said vulture for a second. I was like, what? Where'd that come from? Okay. All right. Well, Stacey Shepard, thank you so much for being our guest this week. And good luck to you and all the people that you're healing. It's fantastic to talk with you, and hopefully we can have you on the show again when you get your virtual arm up.
Awesome. Thank you so much for having me. It was really nice talking with you.
Okay, thanks. Bye-bye.
Okay, bye.
The Nutrition Heretic podcast is a production of Savor the Journey, LLC. Our audio editor is Nikola Popovich. Our podcast manager is Crystal McLean, and our operations manager is Linda Hansen. I'm your host, Adrienne Hugh, the Nutrition Heretic. You can find us at nutritionheretic.com, where you can download the Nutrition Heretic's free shit list of 7 health foods to avoid like the plague. You can also listen to previous episodes at nutritionheretic.com/podcast. Be sure to like us on social media for updates. Our Facebook page is facebook.com/nutritionheretic and on Twitter @NutriHeretic. Contact us with show ideas, questions, or if you just want to be a guest. And don't forget to rate our podcast on iTunes and Stitcher. Thanks.